Good evening, good evening. It is Tuesday, June 23rd. It is 6:30 p.m. We are going to call to order and announce that a quorum is present. We're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation, so could everybody please rise?
Bow with me. God, we are grateful for today, grateful for life, grateful for everyone in this room. Thank you for this city, the staff, God, the council members, elected officials. God, thank you for our PD. Please keep an eye on them, fire department as well. God, anyone in this city. Lord, please let your face shine upon us. God, be gracious to us. God, and protect us. We love you and we trust you.
All right, good evening, good evening. We are going, I would like, council, if you guys wouldn't mind, to move mayor and council comments up to the top here before we give reports. Is that okay with everybody? Yep. All right. I love to start with something really positive. We have, I don't know if anybody is aware, we have a Meadows resident turning 100 this week. He was unable to come this evening. His actual birthday is on Friday, but I wanted to share a few words about him. We are hoping to get a social media post and include it in the Did You Knows in the next newsletter, but having a 100-year-old resident is just that's a really neat thing to commemorate. So I'm going to speak about our resident. This Friday, June 26th, Meadows Place has the incredible honor of celebrating a truly remarkable milestone as a longtime resident. Morris Waxler turns 100 years old. Born in Chicago and later making Texas his home, Morris lived in Bel Air for many years before moving to Meadows Place around 2002. A proud World War II Navy veteran, Morris has lived through an entire century of history while building a life centered on family and service. Morris is the proud father of 2 sons, grandfather to 4 grandchildren, and great-grandfather to 8 great-grandchildren. By all accounts, family has always been at the center of his life. Even into his 80s, Morris could still be found playing softball, a testament to his energy and love of staying active. Today, he continues to live independently at home. He is adored by those who know him, and our Meadows Place community is fortunate to count him among our residents. On behalf of the city of Meadows Place, we wish Morris a very happy 100th birthday and extend our gratitude for a life so beautifully lived. Please join us in celebrating this extraordinary milestone and wishing Morris a wonderful day filled with family, laughter, and love. Happy 100th birthday, Morris. His daughter-in-law reached out to me with just the kindest, sweetest email, so I'm going to send her a link to this video so she can share it with him, and then she's going to send me some pictures, I hope, this weekend. All right, that moves us to a second comment. I don't always have a comment, but I want to make sure that I am clarifying some things that I've posted about. We posted a mayor's comment later last week, and so I have a few notes about that I want to just be really clear about. And then after that, I will kick it to Rick to talk about the Fort Bend Mobility Bond Project number 20211 and Dorrance Lane Reconstruction Project Phase 3. Okay, good evening. Tonight, I want to spend a few minutes talking about an important effort that will help shape the future of our city. We are beginning a comprehensive review of our entire code book to ensure our ordinances align with current state and federal laws and remain sound and enforceable. Over the past several months, questions surrounding ordinance enforcement have highlighted something important. Some sections of our code no longer reflect the realities municipalities operate in within today. Rather than continuing to address these issues one at a time, Council has decided step back and take a broader look at the entire code book. I want to emphasize that this is not entirely new work. Reviewing and updating ordinances has always been one of council's responsibilities. Historically, we've addressed individual ordinances as questions arose or circumstances changed. What's different now is the scope of the work. Instead of making isolated updates, we are taking a thoughtful citywide approach. Fort Bend County recently announced a similar review, which underscores that this isn't unique to Meadows Place. Local governments throughout our region are finding themselves in the same position as state laws evolve and communities change. I want to be transparent about what this means moving forward. This will not be a quick process. There will be discussions, differing opinions, and moments when progress may feel slower than we'd all like. That's okay. Nick reminds me regularly that government is meant to be slow. Some of the best work we do as a city isn't fast work. It is careful work. It will take time, and it will require patience from all of us. Council, staff, legal counsel, and residents will all have a role to play as we work through decades of policies and determine what still serves our community well and what needs to be updated. I also want to reassure residents of something important. Our commitment to this community has not changed. Our values are not changing. Through each issue while this larger review is underway. I also want residents to know that we are not navigating these challenges alone. The Fort Bend County mayors and council members meet regularly to collaborate on regional issues, share ideas, and learn from one another. Many municipalities throughout Texas are currently grappling with the impacts of short-term rentals, such as Airbnbs, and the rapid growth of motorized vehicles, including e-bikes and scooters. These are not issues unique to Meadows Place. They are conversations happening in communities of every size across our state. We will continue that conversation this evening as we discuss short-term rentals during agenda item number 8. On the topic of motorized vehicles, Chief has provided an excellent overview in the June newsletter. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I encourage you to do so. Staff will also be council, this is for you. Staff will also be bringing a draft ordinance to you in July to address these vehicles with community safety as the guiding priority. As proposed ordinance changes emerge, they will be discussed openly at public council meetings. Residents will have opportunities to learn more, ask questions, and be part of the process every step of the way. Our city has always been at its best when we face challenges together. This ordinance review is simply the next chapter of that story. Progress doesn't mean preserving every practice exactly as it has always been. It means preserving our values while adapting to today's realities. We are not changing who we are as a community. We are modernizing the tools we use to govern so we can continue protecting the quality of life residents expect and deserve. Patience, your engagement, and your partnership as we undertake this important work together. Now I'm going to kick it to Rick.
The city needs to fire this volunteer project manager because he hasn't done anything on these 2 projects this month. If there are any specific questions, I can try to answer them, but we're pretty much where we were last month.
We did give feedback to the engineer on Dorrance to make the changes that council talked about with the water meters. So they're going to go ahead and do the back to the single that we had talked about. So that change is made.
Any questions for Rick? All right, that moves us on to reports. We're going to start with our police department. Chief Gary Stewart.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you. And we'll start out as we always do with our reports. We'll start with our number of accidents. In June, we had 11. Arrests 7. For calls for service, 2,857 reports. 232 traffic citations issued. 506 were charged. Out of that, we had 4 citations for COV, and I'll disclose some more of that down below in just a moment. Warnings, we had 189 with 247 charges. Warnings for city ordinance violation were 6. Total activity count 4,059. Assaults this month, we had 0. We had 3 BMVs, 0 burglary of business, 0 burglary of residence. Contacts 10, 1 criminal mischief, 1 forgery. Robberies were at 0. Total property checks 3,667. 2 thefts with 1 UUMV. TLC program 11 with 3 failures, a total of 14, 11 passing. So this reporting period, city ordinance violation warnings issued. We had 2 for solicitor and 4 for junk vehicle parking in various locations. City ordinance citations issued, 2 for loud noise. In the accidents, there were 9 reportable with 2 that were on private property. The police department worked 5 traffic hotspots based on complaints. 25 citations were issued on observed traffic violations. Excuse the typing in this note section as it went askew on me here, but that's Airbnb citations, because we did have an incident I'll go into later, but during that incident, we had 2 citations issued for loud noise. Also during that traffic, for that location or in that area of that location, there were 3 stop sign citations, 2 for no headlight, 2 for no license plate, 3 expired registration. We also had 2 with no LP light, 2 for no insurance, 2 no DL, 1 city ordinance violation, noise for loud music from a vehicle, disregard directing of traffic by an officer, and 1 failure to control speed. Moving on to the report. In the BMVs on page 1, you can see that there was 1, we're up 1 from previous month, 2 were commercial and 1 residential, and the notes are there for you to take a look at. During one of the incidents, Flock yielded a possible suspect vehicle. On page 2, you can see that we were using our Flock system to locate the suspect's vehicle, and there's another cases that happened as well. Again, we're proud of the zeros that we have there for the burglaries. We've been very good on that for pretty much this entire year. Criminal mischief and reckless damage, we had 1. The thefts on page 3, you can see those. They were both commercial. 1 was at Walgreens and 1 was at Northern Tool. Page 4, again, the UMV was residential. We do have Flock showing a vehicle driving northbound on Dairy Ashford about 3 a.m. that we're looking into with CID. For Flock safety, we had 145 alerts, 22 for stolen vehicle alerts, 25 sex offender, 2 hits were 1 vehicle, stolen plate 13, gang or suspected terrorist 19, missing person alerts 10, 14 for warrants, 11 for protective orders, 22 for other agency hot list, and 9 for violent persons. Incidents where Flock were utilized on page 5, you can see that they were used during the BMV and the UMV investigations. CID is currently using that information that we were able to obtain to locate suspects. On page 6, you can see our arrest. We had 3 for UCW, unauthorized carrying of a weapon in a gun-free zone. Also the same 3 for possession of controlled substance, DWLI, and possession of marijuana. 2 were arrested for theft, and 2 for DWI, unauthorized carrying of a weapon. Moving on to notable events on page 8. On Tuesday, 6/9/2026, at approximately 9:30 p.m., Meadows Place Police Department received the first call on a series of calls for reference to loud noise, music, and yelling. During the first call, Officers Bruno and Astorga met with the renter and advised them of the complaint. The renter complied. Another call was received stating there were people in the front yard yelling and waving a gun. Officers arrived on that scene in less than 2 minutes. There were people in the front yard looking at their cars. There was no loud noise at that time, or no guns were observed by officers. Officers Bruno and Astorga began working traffic in the area. That's the traffic report I gave you earlier involving the Airbnb, and began the monitoring conditions. They issued a total of 21 citations for various violations. During that time, they received a third call in reference to this event and another loud noise that was unrelated, but in the area that they also had to address. I believe that was by citation as well. Upon arrival at the Airbnb, officers called for additional units from Stafford, Sugar Land, Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department, and Precinct 3, which all made locations. The officers began shutting down the party. There were estimated to be about 200 people at this party. The officers made everyone leave and clear the streets. There were a few cars parked on Dorrance, Oxford Glen, Scottsdale, and a lot of foot traffic in the area. And within 15 minutes, mostly the streets were cleared, and small groups that were waiting for Uber were the only things that were left. No other incidents were observed or reported at this time. I'd like to take a second to commend my officers for the job they did. It's very difficult, and when you go in with 200 people and you got 2 officers to start out with, it's a high demand thing. They did a great job in controlling the scene. When they needed additional units, that's why we have mutual aid from other agencies and MOUs with them, that they help us and we help them, and they came in with no problem. They were to shut this down. So I do want to commend my officers. In fact, Officer Bruno is here tonight. So additional notes on page 9. We'll talk about our newest officer who was on the training program, Officer Rice. She just completed her training program and is now working on her own. Her schedule is with SPO Rodriguez right now in the daytime. Officer Chan, she was promoted to SPO and assumed her shift covering nights right at this time. Our grant status, all have been approved. We have 1 remaining to collect. Again, it's the same thing you get every month. We're still waiting for some of the funding. It's held up. We currently have 2 applicants that are ready for conditional job offers at this stage. If accepted, that'll leave 1 unfilled position. I'd like to thank our lieutenant who's here tonight, who put together the review board after the backgrounds are done, and they did a great job. Note on our accreditation process, we are going through our timeline. We're preparing for an on-site visit. It's supposed to be this month. We don't have a date yet, and it could be next month, but we're waiting for that on-site date to be set. I'll let y'all know as soon as that occurs. And then with the 4th of July approaching, we're being prepared. We have completed our incident action plan, and we are prepared for the fireworks event, and look forward to seeing everyone there. Also, the last pages, 10 and 11, the STRs are listed there with any occurrences that we have, and that was just for y'all to review and see the documentation that we have with that. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for
you. Oops, sorry. Thank you to you and your officers for all of your help with that. That is a lot of people. Why is it so loud? Is it... Hello? Much better. A little bit. Again, thank you. That is a lot of people. And so the fact that you guys were able to get in there quickly and disperse people without incident is tremendous. So thank you guys so much for that. The other thing I wanted to ask, and I know this comes up every year, so I probably know the answer to this, but I do see an increase in some of the activity that's happening in the city. That's usually something that happens in the summertime. Is that something that you can kind of talk about? Because I think there has been some talk around the city about things happening, and I know that happens every summer. And so really, if you could just kind of talk a little bit to that.
Which, is it specific events you're talking about, or?
Well, just activity, I know like with the burglaries or,
Sure.
foot traffic, those kinds of things.
So you're going to get foot traffic. Actually, our burglaries are, we have 0. We've
Yes.
been keeping that down low. Our guys are doing a good job on the patrol. That doesn't mean they're not going to occur. We can't be everywhere at one time and stuff like that, but we have suppressed that pretty well with our patrol tactics that we have in play. But yes, during the summer, you're going to see increased activity in foot traffic. Again, with schools out and people are celebrating and moving around and going and seeing friends, you're going to see an increase in activity, even in criminal mischiefs and burglary. Usually there are going to be vehicle burglaries that you see increase in, and again, we're low in that end as well. But even the areas around us, they are seeing an increase, a spike. And that's just a summertime, just kind of like at Christmas time, you tell everybody, do not hesitate to call us. We'd rather come to nothing
Absolutely,
than not come to something we should have.
absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
All right, thank you very
sir.
much.
Moving on to our next report, that's with Parks and Recreation, Ms. Colleen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This report will serve for the months of April through June. And a quick event recap, we had the concert in the park event back in May. We originally had scheduled for April, and then we pushed it because of weather. But it was well attended. We fed over 300 people. Breakfast with Tiffany was the band. And thank you, council, so much for all your support and help during that event, to serve, to cook, and to hang out with the public. I know they enjoyed it. Our second event was Barefoot and Friday. That was this past weekend. We had over 40 kids participate in that without incident. And that's an event for the older age kids, 9 to 14, and then the Barefoot and Friday junior kids, and those are from, I believe, 5 to 9 years old. And that's indoors in the community center. So it was a very fun event. PD, thank you for your support there as well. Upcoming events, as Chief mentioned, is our July 4th, and that is a firework-only event. Those are scheduled to shoot off at 9:15 at McGrath Park. Signs will be posted this coming Monday throughout the community to remind people about the firework event at 9:15 in the park. We will have 3 park staff there on site, as well as PD. Together, we'll be making sure we're managing the fallout zones, the shoot site setup, and then the overall park management. But there is no food, will be no vendors, nothing of that nature. It'll just be the fireworks. And then we have another BFF, and that will be the last one for the summer, and that is scheduled for July 17th. Moving on to projects, our tennis court project, as mentioned in the last council meeting, council gave the direction to go ahead and have HDR start working on some engineering specs, and they are currently doing that. We've had conversations with them already. They've gone to the site. They're starting to work on that portion of the request. During the last month, as you all know, because I'm sure those that have been home and have a yard to mow or to tend to, have been held up a little bit because of the weather. Well, we too have also felt that. So during the last month and a half, we've really shifted our focus indoors and into getting things back up to the standard and the speed that we need them to. We've completed updates to City Hall, the EOC building, the Nature Center, the Community Center, and PD, all in an effort to meet our fire code compliance. And I'm happy to say that we have passed. We made some adjustments, took some suggestions, and now we are in full compliance once again with the fire code. Also, we, Cameron, Anna Maria, and Dan Denny and myself all worked together to create a new media space. And this was involved a rack system for Cameron's communication devices, and we've done that all with in-house resources. So that was really exciting that we weren't having to go out and spend extra money, do any build-outs, but we were able to accommodate that, and it's actually in this closet space here. So it worked out really nicely. We are working to bring our city facilities back up to standard by eliminating a lot of the past neglected areas. And so this includes some deep cleaning, stripping and waxing of floors, painting and sheetrock repair, repairing roof leaks, replacement of broken furnishings, repurposing and consolidating underutilized spaces. And again, thanks to all the rain, we've had lots of time on our hands to focus indoors. So now that the weather looks good, at least for the next 2 weeks, we will be shifting our focus to outdoors. So Healthman Park, we started that when the weather was decent, and then really have our timeline was just destroyed during that. But we are told that they should finish that this week. So that included all of the finishing of the turf repair, the new padding, and cleaning up the park to get it back up and open. So hopefully that should be by the end of this week. We'll also be filling in low spots along the trails. We notice those obviously when it rains because they become puddles. So now we have a good idea of where we are holding water. So we are working on those areas. And then also just general weed management and ant control. Anytime you spray for weeds or ants and it rains, it's negated anything that we've tried to do. So we are back at it and out there this week. Upcoming projects, we have a new amenity coming in, and this is a 6-hole disc golf course. So we're very excited about that. That is funded by EDC at the cost of $5,000. And this will be in McGrath Park. So we will start out with the 6 holes and eventually grow to 9 holes. We'll have signage, we'll have course mapping. So we're very excited about that. We already have the goals in, and now we just have to get the signs made and put them in the ground. So I would say by the end of July, we should have that in place. So pretty exciting. If you haven't played disc golf, this will be an opportunity for you to go out there and just see what it's about, or watch people, or even try it. And there are, yes, as Cameron mentioned, there are disc golf lessons. Will, he is our recreation coordinator. He will be teaching that class because he is a disc golf advocate. And I believe that is coming up. Cameron, do you know? I don't see it on here. That should be coming up this next month in June. But anyhow, oh, here it is. Intro to Disc Golf. That is July 11th from 11 a.m. to noon, and that is free. That's right. RSVP by the 6th so that we'll know that someone's coming, and will definitely be out there to introduce you to disc golf. So we're kind of excited. Additionally, another project that we're working on is painting of the McGrath Park fence, the whole fence line there at West Airport, just to maintain it and clean it up again. So we will be painting that, making sure we have a good dry week to be able to do that. And again, that is funded through EDC as well. So, and that concludes my report. If you have any questions.
I am pumped about disc golf. Thank you. There are no courses around here. You either have to go to Richmond, Missouri City, Houston, Sugar Land. There's nothing near us. So thank you for doing that. I'm excited. I think we'll get a big crowd.
Awesome.
There is an app that we should probably be a part of, and I bet Will is very familiar with it, but he can add that course to it and photos, and then people can leave reviews and things like that. So
Great.
super excited.
Good to hear that. Good.
Thank
We
you.
are too. Any other questions?
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we'll see y'all at July 4th at 9:15.
I will be there. That brings us to our city administrator's report with Nick.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to make an announcement for the interest of the community that this Saturday at 8:30 a.m. we will have the first of 2 scheduled so far budget meetings with City Council. First one being, like I said, this Saturday at 8:30 at the EOC. It's going to be our budget kickoff with the City Council. The second one will be on July 8th, that evening. That'll be our second budget meeting with Mayor and Council. This morning, your senior staff got together and had a very good budget meeting, our own budget kickoff discussion. I can't say enough about how impressive it is to watch the team work together. We scrub the budgets. We look at every line item together. We don't just look at our department, we look at the other departments. And so we exchange ideas, we exchange challenges to each other about line items. We really come together as a team to look at the budget as a whole, so that we're ready to visit with the mayor and council about the entire budget. It is going to be a challenging year, as we talked about, but staff is confident that we've got some options on the table, and we're ready. We will be ready on Saturday, council, about the budget, and so we're looking forward to that. So again, this Saturday at 8:30 at the EOC is our first meeting. Of course, it is a public meeting, open to the public. It's a good meeting for us to get some feedback from council on some budget priorities in the coming year. So it's a really important meeting for staff to hear that feedback so that we can go back again and then begin to prepare a balanced budget for fiscal year. My report.
Any questions for Nick? Okay, that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is public comments. Before we get started with public comments, I want to remind everybody that this is the time for council to hear you. So you will have 3 minutes, we'll have it on the timer here, to tell council whatever you want to tell council. They will hold that in consideration as we continue through the rest of our agenda. If you have not, and I know this is kind of a new thing, if you have not filled out one of these cards, this is a really handy way for us to keep record of who comes and speaks with us, and then gives us an easy way for us to contact you again after the meeting should we need to do that. So if you would like to speak, go ahead. They're right behind Officer Bruno. There's a card, or if you already have one and if you want to come up and speak, you can hand it to me. So I am opening public comments. Would anybody? I have 2 cards. Do you like me just to? Thanks. And Chandra will put on her timer for you. Anybody can come to the podium. Yeah. Do you want to come on up first? When you get to the podium, please state your name for the record.
My name is Kathy Zepeda.
You can pull it down. I always have to.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for taking the time to review the concerns.
You're good.
Raised regarding the incident at the short-term rental property located on 11502 Dorrance on June 9th. I appreciate the mayor's response, the swift action taken by law enforcement, and the acknowledgement that the situation was unacceptable. While I am grateful that no one was harmed and that citations were issued, I'm here tonight because many residents remain concerned that this might happen again. The mayor's response explained that the city has a licensing process for short-term rentals and that licenses can be revoked for repeated noise, parking, and nuisance violations. My question is whether these protections are enough to prevent a large gathering from occurring in the first place. This issue was not simply an inconvenience. Residents were awakened in the middle of the night by loud music, excessive traffic, and large number of people congregating in a quiet residential neighborhood. Many of us felt unsafe in our own home. As a parent of a special needs child, I'm especially concerned about the disruption and stress these situations create for families. Our homes should be a place where we feel safe and secure. I understand that the property owner has accepted responsibility as making changes. However, this issue is larger than a single property. It raises questions about how short-term rentals operate within residential neighborhoods. I would ask council to consider additional protections, including establishing clear occupancy limits based on the size of the house, prohibiting parties and large gatherings at small-term rentals, increase penalties for violations that impact public safety, neighborhood quality of life, requiring immediate local management response when complaints are received, reviewing whether short-term rentals are appropriate in our residential neighborhood that are not designed or zoned as vacation destination. Our community is not a beach town, resort community, or tourist destination. It is a neighborhood where families live year-round, where children play outside, and where residents expect a reasonable level of peace and safety. I appreciate the city's willingness to review the ordinance, and I respectfully ask that any revisions prioritize the protection of residents and neighborhoods so that incidents like this not happen again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to come to the podium? Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Chris Golick. I live at 11419 Scottsdale. My reason to be here is really just to kind of get the temperature of each of you on council as to, do y'all support the short-term rentals as a whole, and are you concerned, and do you personally want to see the policy and the way we treat these short-term rentals change to where this can never happen again? And kind of what I mean by that is, I appreciate that this owner was cited, but do y'all all believe that short-term rentals should be treated different than long-term rentals? And by that, what I'm going after is zero tolerance to this kind of behavior.
We can't answer questions during this time because this is just the public hearing, but agenda item number 8 is the time for council to discuss this. So I think you're going to get the answer to that question when we get to that agenda item. But is there anything else? Listen, about short-term rentals. This
I mean,
is
I was there. I mean, I had my dog, I had a gun, and I was still scared. I'm not necessarily, that I felt like I was in immediate danger. Could have been potentially, but the issue was, I mean, we've all seen this play out on a national stage where within 5 seconds, this goes from just, a party where people are having fun to gunshots, And earlier in the evening, and I don't think I posted about this, I drove down about 9 o'clock and they were already obstructing traffic on Dorrance. I sat there for about 15 seconds while 2 girls were jiggling their butt and had to lay on my horn. And whenever I did that, a couple of them put their hands in my car, and kind of like, why are you tripping kind of a thing. That's a big deal. I mean, this was already dark. I mean, technically that's kind of assault. I mean, people can really, fear for their lives. And I don't want anything to happen to anybody here, to our property, but most importantly, I also don't want anything to happen to these people that are here because of the repercussions that will happen whenever they are seen as victims of us reacting to their poor behavior. So that's really my concern is, I mean, loss of life is my first and foremost fear here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to come to the podium? I have 2 here. Tim, did you want to come to the podium? When we do discussion. Chandra's saying they can't come to the podium during discussion.
We've allowed it in the past. We have opened.
Are they allowed to come to the podium during discussion period?
It's not required we do it. However, it's not prohibited under state law that I'm aware of.
Ordinarily, city councils will have the public comment period at the beginning of the session and limit speakers to their time period and not necessarily have a back and forth conversation with the public. So, again, it's your discretion and how you want to handle it, though. There's no legal prohibition against handling it differently.
Okay. I would like to go ahead and get public comments, all the 3 minutes done here, and then when we get to the agenda items, we can discuss as needed. Does that make sense?
That's fine. The audience is going to come up with more questions during our discussion. I agree. And we have always allowed them to come up and express that.
As long as it is legally sound, I am okay with that. Okay. All right. Are you wanting to wait, or would you like to do your 3 minutes? Okay. All right. Anybody else up for public comment? Okay, great. Can you bring me your paper? I'll just keep them in my stack right here. I'm making notes on the backs of them. Thanks. Okay. All right, that brings us to the next item of our agenda, which is our regular agenda. We're going to start with agenda item number 1, discussion and consideration regarding resolution number 2026-11, approving the 2026-2027 Texas Health Benefits Pool Renewal Notice and Benefit Verification Form, setting the employee-funded defined contribution rate for employee medical, dental, long-term disability, basic life, and AD&D, voluntary dependent life, and additional employee life coverage. So Chandra's been to all kinds of things about this, so I'm gonna let her talk. You have to get it closer than you think you do.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So currently it's time for us to renew our medical and therefore $500.
Is there any questions or discussion for Chandra? With Chandra? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2, discussion and consideration regarding resolution number 2026-12, allowing the mayor to declare surplus equipment and authorizing the sale or disposal thereof. This is a Lemons auctioneer item. The Ford Exposition, which is used by code enforcement, has been having more frequent issues, which is requiring more maintenance. The Ford Explorer has not been in service for some time and has several mechanical issues. Repairing such would not be cost efficient. It would only allow minimal amount of time for use. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion before I have a vote? All right, with the motion and a second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 3, discussion and consideration regarding ordinance number 2026-10, amending the general fund budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, increasing line item 1000505205510, police vehicle purchase, for $115,000 from general fund balance to purchase a new police vehicle and equipment needed. We do this at this time of year regularly to kind of show when we have an end of year, a little bit of an end of year surplus. This amendment will increase the police department vehicle purchase, and the Tahoe the current Tahoe will replace an existing Tahoe, which will be repurposed as code enforcement's vehicle. So it kind of ties to that last agenda item. The funding for this purchase will be from city reserves, which is projected to be replenished by unused police salary and employee benefits due to vacancies in the police department.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion of this item?
And just as a reminder to council, ordering now allows us to beat the October rush when everybody else puts in for their fleet vehicles. It just makes it easier for us to actually get ours. When you're ordering one instead of hundreds, it's hard to get priority.
There was also a big price discrepancy between ordering now and one even just a few weeks from now. Chief can speak more to that.
Correct. If we order by the end of the month, we'll save about $7,000 or $8,000 because that's when they start pricing those new vehicles. And when everybody starts ordering them, as Councilman Staley just said, that it floods it, and we're delayed by an additional couple months before we even get the vehicle.
We have enough unused budget to cover the entire purchase.
It's probably close with the number of officers we've been down.
Right. Anna Maria says yes.
Thank you.
She's, yeah, wait. We do have some vacancies that we've had for some time that will help soften the blow tremendously.
I have a motion and a second. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, discussion and consideration regarding number 2026-13, authorizing the mayor and communications director to execute agreements with Aptigee Incorporated and Boxcast. This is coming directly out of the communications workshop that we just had before the council meeting. Staff has looked into 2 new vendors, Aptigee and Boxcast. Aptigee would replace two different services and also provide the city with an app. Boxcast would replace the Swagit, which is our video company. And the too long didn't read version of this is going with these services will save the city thousands of dollars and meet ADA compliance, which we have time still to meet, but we would like to meet it sooner rather than later. And it will also add features that the city did not have before. Are there any questions? Cameron would be the one to direct the questions to. All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, agenda item number 5, discussion and consideration regarding ratifying the mayor's signature on the amended interlocal agreement between Fort Bend County Tax Office and the City of Meadows Place. This amendment changes how the county will be paid for their tax collection services. Moving forward, the county will withhold money owed for the services from the January tax collection instead of sending us an invoice and requesting a check. So we have to sign off on that, and then council has to. Questions or discussion?
I will move to approve.
I have a motion.
Was there a price change at all?
Anna Maria, was there a price change?
It's a policy change. Instead of giving us the money and then invoicing it for it back, they're just going to
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6, discussion and consideration regarding the city utility service to the Park Meadows townhomes. I have my notes in here. Kick it to Kurt. Would you like to start us off on this, or do you want me to start with Byron? Because I know Byron has a lot of backup on this as well.
Yeah, I'll just be really brief.
Yep.
This was a question by a resident or a board member from townhomes, if it would be possible to get Meadows Place water service to the townhomes. Currently, they're through the city of Houston because most are located in the city of Houston, but we have better quality water at a lower price, and so they were interested, or potentially lower price, residential rate, and so they wanted to explore the option of possibly using our water if it's a possibility.
And Byron is going to tell us all the things.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. To answer your question, yes, it is possible, but it's going to be extremely costly and it's going to require a lot of compliance. So currently, because they are on the City of Houston's water line, they're using chloramines. Our system is a free chlorine system, which means we would have to cut and cap that line, and then we'd have to flush 3 times that amount plus take back teas, and we'd have to extend our water line from Water Plant 1 approximately 353 feet, which is 250 feet north, and then bore underneath South Kirkwood for 103 feet, and then they would have to extend their line to touch that line. And that puts us within our city limits and not inside the City of Houston city limits. They mentioned before there was an interconnect. There is no interconnect between us and the City of Houston. Kurt, if you remember this picture when you sent that, that's actually a fire hydrant that's in front of that business. So that's not a line that we could tie into or that we can use as an interconnect or ever use as an interconnect. We currently are taking all of their wastewater I know somebody mentioned that we probably had a third, but looking at the map, yeah, we've currently been taking all of their wastewater currently and for some time, because I did reach out to Dan McGraw. As far as capacity, we can actually supply them comfortably as far as capacity. With 114 units, approximately 150 gallons per day per person, that's 51,000 gallons. Each one of our wells can do at least 1.2 million. And there's nowhere in the last 2 months that we've even come close to what our capacity is.
Dollar-wise, would be the cost? I mean, we're talking several $100,000, right?
Yes. I couldn't give you the exact dollar amount because I would have to see how we would want to do it. They actually have 4 meters that are on the entry, 2 4-inch meters and 2 2-inch meters for irrigation. For them to actually run that line and for us to extend our line, you're looking at least 50,000 right there, and plus the casing underneath South Kirkwood and the boring to do that project.
And the townhomes understand they would be the ones bearing that cost?
I have not spoken with the townhomes yet, but yes, that would be a cost that they would incur due to the fact that we would be extending that service for them.
I have a question. Would the city of Houston, do they let them do that? How does that work?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons our attorney is here today. We wanted to visit about the fact that we don't have jurisdiction to serve them at this time. So perhaps Heather might have found.
Right, so this would require an interlocal agreement with the city of Meadows Place and the city of Houston. I'm actually personal friends with the attorney that would likely handle this at the city of Houston, and I met with her a couple of weeks ago when we first started having these discussions, whether there's an appetite to give up that water service. It is a question that, we'd have to explore. But legally, Meadows Place could sell the water in this area into the townhome development, even though, some of the townhomes, I think it's approximately 2/3 of the townhomes lie within the city of Houston's jurisdiction. So it is legally permissible, but we would need to get agreement from city of Houston. We would have to come to a number of different agreements on paper. And again, as has been explained, it would be an expensive process. And, we'd want to make sure we're protecting the Meadows Place water supply as well.
There may be an existing interlocal, or I'm not sure if it's just an understanding with City of Houston. We send them a bill each month or each year? Each month for the sanitary that they send from the units that are within the City of Houston. So we're taking all of their sanitary, but we're being paid for it through some kind of an agreement. This would probably just flip that agreement somehow or modify that existing agreement. But I think we need to know before we go any further is, do the townhomes understand that they would be the ones funding that several $100,000 cost? At least that's my opinion. The city does not generate money. We take tax money and fee money from our residents, and I don't think we should be asking our existing residents to subsidize the townhomes getting water from us.
One question to talk about with the sewer fee. On the bill, it says a certain number of townhomes. That's a question mark. Did we clarify, are we getting all the money due from the city of Houston? Okay. If you look at the commercial irrigation utility rates, it doesn't mention all of the townhomes. It says a smaller number.
Yeah, it's a question that we would need to further explore. You had mentioned earlier that we receive all of the sanitary from that complex only because you spoke with Dan McGraw. Is that the case?
Now, looking at the map, it shows that we take all of it, and also speaking with Dan McGraw, we have been taking all of their sewer for quite some time.
Visiting with the city of Houston about what they pay, we've searched to see if we could find a semblance of an agreement with the city of Houston. Obviously, this agreement is very old. We haven't found anything on paper that shows why we received the amount of money we receive. We just have always received it.
Truthfully, it probably goes back to the mud before the city incorporated.
So, right. Though it probably hasn't kept up with our own structure. So, to audit that and see what they should be paying on a pro rata share of all the units, we'd have to dig a little deeper and see what that number should be. A work in progress.
We do have representatives from the Townhome HOA here. Did you have any questions for us, or did we answer some of your questions? You're welcome to come to the podium. Byron is going to step to the side. Thank you so much. Byron has done a lot of work on this, so we really appreciate it. Don't go too far. We may need you back.
We really appreciate your time and all the research that you've done. It sounds to me like it's not a feasible proposition for us. We were under the impression that we had a connection with your water, and if it's not there and it goes through a several $100,000 project, it's not going to work for us, and there's no sense in pursuing it anymore. Again, we appreciate the time that you all put into it and taking a look at it, but we had a different thought of what was actually already there, and if it's not there, then it's not there.
No, building lines and lines of pipe under Kirkwood is a very large undertaking.
Yeah. Oh no.
It would be incredibly expensive.
We were under the impression that there was a line already that had been capped or something, and it had just, and the city of Houston had taken the water rights or whatever you want to call it. But again, we thank you for the time, and I don't think there's any reason to pursue it anymore.
Pursue it.
But we do appreciate you.
Thank you so
Lisa.
much.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. My name is Lisa Fisher. I live that's my townhouse address, 12037 Brighton Lane. I also have a townhouse in the townhomes, and I serve on the HOA board. Did you say the cost estimate would be like $50,000? Oh.
That's not for the running of the lines, though.
That's for the meters.
That's to set the meters.
To set 4 meters.
But we wouldn't run separate lines. We would run, say, an 8-inch line up to wherever we split those meters off, right?
So in 2020, when all of the water pressure dropped in the city of Houston, I contacted Mayor Jessup and had a conversation with him about the townhomes receiving water from Meadows Place. And at that time, he told me that there actually is a connection between the 2 water lines, but that there's a valve that's shut off separating those 2 lines.
There may have been at that time. We had to sever that because of some TECQ requirements, I believe.
2020.
Because we're running different styles of chlorination, we can't have an interconnect anymore.
Yeah, so 2020, I was the one that walked that whole line from Water Plant 1 to where the new apartments are. There is no interconnect in between.
Other comments. So it's interesting that all of the sewer looks like it drains to the city of Meadows Place. So I hope you get paid for it, because we are paying a lot of money for sewer. And actually, we have the opportunity through the city of Houston to separate our water and sewer purchasing. So we don't have to purchase water and sewer from them, and we can separate those agreements. Also, we spend like $150,000 a year on water and sewer, and that's going to continue to go up over the next several years. I think we've had a 7 or 8% increase just last month, or in April. So I foresee a very high cost of water and sewer for our community, and if we could get the numbers for what it would cost to make that connection, it would increase utilization of the wells in Meadows Place. I'm told that the whole city can run off of one well. So it would increase utilization of city resources, and also benefit a community that has residents who are part of Meadows Place. So I would love to see what those numbers look like, and if we're also doing a long-term reserve study that's kicking off this fall for our community, and if we can have those numbers, we can figure out a long-term financial plan. We have a 30-year plan that we're setting up. So if we could have those numbers and build that in, we can figure out a payoff period that would be beneficial to the city and then also to our community.
I have no problem with us finishing out determining what the total cost would be. And at least then they can make an informed decision.
And it would allow us to make an informed decision. And a lot of our community members, we had a board of directors meeting last Thursday. Many of our community members were excited at the prospect of having water from City of Meadows Place rather than the City of Houston, and the well water versus runoff water. So
if you would be willing to share with us what you guys are paying for the sanitary to the City of Houston?
I did, actually. Oh, no, I did. It was on our water bill, correct? I'm happy to share our sewer cost, but I think the water and sewer is tied in together.
It may be, but that's usually a separate line item within the City of Houston bill.
I sent the bill. All 6.
I would be interested to see what they're paying
Actually,
and
all
compare
8.
that to what we're charging City of Houston.
Oh, yeah. The cost, City of Meadows Place charges significantly less. It would be tens of thousands of dollars.
Right,
less expensive
but,
but
until the change is made,
yes.
Whatever you're paying to Houston, I think we can charge them that same amount.
So council, to get a good estimate, honest estimate, we may need to request our city engineer help us with that. That's going to cost a little bit of money.
I'm okay with spending a little bit of consultant money to possibly get a new customer that uses a significant amount of water. That's kind of, to me, that's the cost of doing business. I don't want us to then pay for the installation costs.
We could probably, just on an hourly, get them to give us an estimate cost to run that line fully to serve. The legal questions that were asked is something that's separate and apart from the logistics of actually running the lines to the facility. But just knowing how to bore those lines underneath, how far to go, the actual cost, I think an engineer could give us a good ballpark that they could go off. Better than asking a contractor to eyeball it.
Right.
And would that be like an upfront charge for the installation, or?
We'd have to talk about that at the time.
Okay.
Let's get some numbers together. We can give that to you. You can meet with your board to see if it's something you want to pursue. At that time, we can then engage our legal counsel to have some discussions with City of Houston while you finish up your thoughts.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
We greatly appreciate
Thank
it.
you. We don't need to, we did just discussion. We don't need to do a motion or approval on this item. I appreciate you coming and taking time to talk to us this evening. And staff is clear on direction. Yes, okay. We are moving into agenda item number 7, discussion and consideration regarding creating an ad hoc committee for the City of Stafford multi-year interlocal fire services agreement. We are we are at the start of another 5-year agreement with Stafford. There are going to be significant changes from the last 5-year agreement. We would like to put together a small, non-quorum group of people to work with Stafford's Finance Committee, council members, and Fire Chief as we build this and negotiate this agreement. Is there anybody who, I will be on the committee, Nick will be on the committee. Yes, we've talked about this so many
David's not here, but I think he
Anna
wanted to be on
Maria
it.
will be on the
I would like to be on the committee.
Rick would like to be on the committee.
I think David said that he wanted to be.
David, okay. David, Rick, Audrey, Nick, and Anna Maria. If you are, okay, you are the MVP of this ad hoc committee, okay. Anecdotally, we have an email saying that Stafford is meeting to discuss this item on Friday. If we can make that work, I would like, if everybody can't, that is totally okay, but I would like at least a representative or two to be able to attend.
I can probably attend. I'll have to double check my schedule. I think we need to make them aware that this is the first discussion. We are not finalizing the agreement at that meeting. There's going to be a lot of back and forth on what goes into the charge estimates or charge cost, as well as what information we are expecting to receive.
So I can reach out tomorrow to the fire chief and let him know we're available Friday afternoon.
Good.
3:30. Any, you don't need to vote on that. We do need to vote. We just created it. We're going to make a motion. Emily makes a motion. And Kurt is seconding. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? Moving on to agenda item number 8. Discussion and consideration regarding the City of Meadows Place Code of Ordinances, Section 15014. Residential rental property licensing and inspection. This provides City Council the opportunity,
So
I'm going to kick it to Nick.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go for it.
Toward the back of your packet, you do have the ordinance 150.14. The section that is the section that's most applicable, I think, to the discussion on short-term rentals is going to be, past the definitions, it's going to be under Section E, where it talks about revocation of license. In there it says the City Council may revoke a license for life, safety, or critical violations. City Council may also revoke a license if 2 or more citations related to parking violations, noise violations, or nuisance violations are issued upon the licensed property within a 12-month rolling period. Then it goes on to say that to revoke the license, the city will send written notice of the city's intent to revoke the license not less than 30 business days prior to the date of revocation. Then it goes on to explain what we have to say in the notice. So essentially, we notify the property owner that we intend to revoke the license, but that doesn't get triggered until council chooses to take it up once 2 or more citations are issued within a 12-month period.
We have Heather, our attorney, here to help us with this item. This item was modified in 2022. Am I correct, this ordinance? Okay, so I'm going to kick it to Heather.
I'm assuming state law has not changed. We cannot ban them outright.
So this is an evolving legal landscape. Within the last 10 years, there have been a lot of jurisdictions that have sought to regulate short-term rentals. At this time, there is no comprehensive state law as to regulation of short-term rentals, so it's very jurisdiction specific and specific to the type of jurisdiction. General law cities like Meadows Place do have authority to regulate. and require registrations or licensure, just as Meadows Place did and revised in 2022. When I was meeting with the city administrator and the mayor on this issue, I explained that, again, this is rapidly evolving, and there are certain counties that their courts have been more deferential to property owners that live in single-family neighborhoods and jurisdictions, particularly home rule cities, that have more extensive regulations against short-term rentals. And so they've been able to kind of have more restrictive regulations on short-term rental properties. Other jurisdictions have swung the other way, and so they're much more deferential to the property rights of owners who seek to lease their properties. And so municipalities have a number of tools available, not just regulating short-term rentals through registration and licensure, as Meadows Place does. A number of jurisdictions also regulate through zoning, and that's a tool that's certainly available to this body. Short-term rentals, I don't believe, are regulated through your current zoning ordinances. That's definitely a tool that's available, and as we look at perhaps enacting some different zoning restrictions, we cannot ban them entirely, to answer your question, because there are a number of constitutional provisions you have to be careful with, and there are some splits in our courts. So when we spoke the other day, I describe it as a menu of options, but some menus have raw and undercooked foods, and we have to decide whether we want to take that risk or not, given the split in court authority on some of the issues. So, so zoning, licensure, one of the options available, and I know council loves it when I bring this up, is HOA regulation. The courts have been much more deferential to HOA regulation than they have been to municipal regulation, where those deed restrictions or those restrictive covenants are very specific and clearly define the activity that's prohibited. So licensure, zoning, HOAs, and again, parking and noise violations, which is all incorporated in our current licensure scheme. So those are the primary tools that are available to municipalities. This is sort of your menu of options, and we can certainly take a look at perhaps adding additional zoning regulations if that's the will of this body. But again, we have to be aware of the constitutional limitations of the right to peaceable assembly. Courts are very reticent to restrict those rights. They're also sometimes quick, depending on the jurisdiction, to say that it becomes a regulatory taking if you're prohibiting them entirely. And again, depending on the court and the jurisdiction, they're very cautious about impinging on a person's vested right to own property and to lease their property. So all of those considerations will go into our review and consideration.
And from our previous discussion, the courts have kind of looked poorly on treating rental residents different than homeowner residents. So if we say a short-term rental can't have more than 20 people in the house, but we don't put those same restrictions on homeowners, that opens us up to various issues.
Exactly. You're reaching sort of the owner-occupied issue, and so you really have to treat all residences the same, which is why Texas Municipal League typically says it's best to get at these things through noise, street parking ordinances, and the other things that are already in place that seem like, although this was an awful situation for the neighbors in the neighborhood, it seems like they worked as intended to shut things down as quickly as they could.
Because we do have one well-known resident that does have some annual parties that get rather large. Looking at you, Chuck.
Council, any questions or thoughts for Heather?
I mean, I think we continue to look at the zoning options, see what we can do to better protect the city, understanding that we're not going to be able to ban them outright, and hopefully, you know, this homeowner or the resident or the person that owns this home acts like they're going to try to do some things to not allow this to happen again.
He's been very communicative with the city and with council.
And I need all the citizens to understand, this could have as easily happened to one of our resident-owned homes if they threw a big graduation party or anything else. The parents were out of town and they invited their entire graduating class to the house. My neighbor had her daughter was graduating. There were 30 cars on my street that Saturday. It was hard to get through, but they also weren't dancing in the street or playing loud music. So I think we need to understand these things can happen, but try to figure out how to best control them in the future.
I would also just kind of add to that, I do agree that that can happen anywhere. We have been fortunate. Obviously, it wasn't on my street, but I can't imagine, it was a street over from me, and if I lived there, I would have been terrified. And so it is a very unfortunate situation. We want to keep all of our residents safe. But as far as the police chief goes and the police department, I think the best thing that we could have done is shut it down and shut it down quickly. In addition to everything else that we're doing, that really sends out a great message to everybody that this is not the place to come and have your parties.
I think it was handled well. The only other way we could have, if we had known it was happening, maybe we could have gotten there sooner or something, but you can't predict that. We weren't invited. I'm taking that personally. But I think it was handled well at that point. I just would love to see fewer warnings given. If the police are out there and it's bad, give them a citation. Like first time, so that if we get to this point where we are considering revoking their license, there's already been a citation.
I think it probably warrants for Chief to come up and visit about that.
Perfect.
He explained the process to me like an hour ago, so I would love for you to explain that to everybody.
Okay, no problem. So typically, when we get a call, initially, we're going to give a warning because we want to get compliance. That's what we're there for. And we don't know at that point in time if it's a rental or homeowner situation. We're not looking into that because we're going to treat everybody equally, right? What happens is that typically they comply and we're done. Initially, when we came out the second time, the complaint was for something. I mean, it did have loud music, but when the officers arrived, there was no music playing. They said they were waving guns. There was nobody out there doing any of those things. It's just that there was a large gathering. We went and investigated it. What spurred my officers to go ahead and let's say, all right, we know there's a party. We can't prohibit parties and limit number of people and all that stuff. It's just they wanted to get out of hand. That's when they started working traffic. They're monitoring this situation. The third one is no more warning. We already know that you got to disperse now. So we try to be optional because it could be, this is a short-term rental, so it's a touchy subject, right? But if it had been a homeowner having a graduation party, would have done the same thing. It would have been we're going to give you a couple warnings until we see things are getting out of control, and then we're going to take control. So it's kind of hard not to give the warnings and say, okay, it's a short-term rental, you get no warnings, and you're shut down immediately. We can't really do that.
So this is people calling in to say there's something going on here, and you're waiting for multiple calls in one event?
So if somebody says there's loud music and we go to that house and we say, hey, you're disturbing neighbors, the music's too loud, and they turn it down, they complied.
Okay. And then another person calls.
And another person calls, but it was for something totally different. It wasn't the loud music. It was that they were loud, and that came from a car. We had solved that issue. But you're going to get several calls. I mean, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to comply the first time, right? If we come back a second time, we're a little bit more stern. There was issued a citation. Usually that stops it. And then if we come back third time, it's done. So yeah, we do try to give a couple warnings to them.
So it's not calls in, it's how many times you go back to the site.
Yeah, because a lot of times you're going to get multiple calls for the same thing at one time. So if you get loud music, you may get 5 neighbors that call.
I'm not critiquing, I'm clarifying.
No, I'm saying, but if you call and the neighbor next door calls, it may be around the same time. And that's considered one loud call that we're getting. It's not based on the number of calls. If we're getting called and we go out and we make contact, we have to use our discretion at that time of whether we're going to shut it down, issue a citation, or what's going on. And sometimes we've been to places where, you know, the streets were crowded and we got a complaint of loud music and stuff like that, and there was nothing there. I mean, we sit out there, there's nothing that's unusually loud or anything like that. They're just the neighbors peeved that they're having a party, right? So we have to be careful with that. We just don't just shut things down. We come and give a warning. If we get someone calling about noise, we want to go there, we sit, we try to see if we can hear it, if it is disturbing or not, and then we're going to give them a warning. If they comply and we don't have to come back, that's great. They continue on. So we don't immediately shut it down.
Okay, so the next night, if there's another event, this would be a homeowner building a pattern, but short-term rentals, you come back the next night for noise again.
If by the ordinance that you all have created, there are 2 or more citations in a 12-month period, then we're going to report to y'all, and y'all make the decision on whether you revoke their certification.
Right, but you're coming and warning a renter, short-term renter, they get a warning the next night because it's a different
So
renter.
if it's a different renter, they starts over again.
Yes,
I mean,
we could be doing that dance every night at the same time.
except that it's coming back if there's citations issued to y'all to make a decision whether you want to allow them to be licensed or not.
That was
See,
actually,
the thing is y'all created the ordinance saying that it has to have 2 or more citations issued in a 12-month period. So that comes to y'all to make the decision on whether it is licensed or not.
Just trying to figure out how to get us to citations faster.
And I think what we
Well,
should do is let's look at the, next time we meet on this, and maybe we do a workshop.
See, they were issued citations that night for noise. I mean, so we're issuing citations, and then there was 23 traffic violations that were related to it. So I don't think we could have issued any more citations.
But I think what we do is, they gave us the information on all the short-term rentals that are registered with us. I think we should look at that and see if there's one building a pattern. I see the one on Solano Court actually building more of a pattern than this house did.
So that is the data I provided you, and you're going to be disappointed to see that that's an anomaly that occurred the other night. So again, you know, it's more of going back, yeah, we can what if somebody else has a party, but I think we will find if I did a true, just not STRs, and did it in the city, you'll find there's some of our residents that violate more than an STR does, just to be honest.
that kind of leads me to my next question for council. We were discussing this at the staff level because it's not just police it's not just citations through the police department. Our code enforcement citations are included in this as well.
They are.
I know that Chief is tracking. Code enforcement has their own tracking system. We have discussed combining those tracking systems and making sure that they overlap on these. We actually also just did a big audit of all of our rentals, long-term rentals and short-term rentals. So we're well aware of every rental property in the city of Meadows Place. We want to shore up some of our making sure that the overlap is happening on our staff end. But because the ordinance is written the way it is, what staff needs to know from council is we need direction on what staff needs to do once those 2 citations
Occur.
What triggers us notifying the property owner and then putting an item on the agenda? We're going to consider revoking your license.
Is it automatic? Once they get 2, do we go ahead and send the letter off and put it automatically on the next council meeting? Do you want to discuss first? And there's a process question here that we haven't bumped into yet. And certainly, there was enough, there were so many citations on
So
last week.
the only ones that would apply are to the ones we issued for the loud noise at the location. The other ones are traffic violations.
Correct.
So the ordinance is clear that it has to be related to parking violations, noise violations, or nuisance violations.
So the only ones that would apply are the noise in that case.
And I think, I think our intent was 2 separate events, not multiple citations
Correct.
issued at one event.
So then do we need to modify the ordinance to clarify
I think,
that?
I think we need to have another discussion as part of our code review and determine whether we meant, you know, if we have one event with multiple citations, does that rise to us pulling a license, or was the intent 2 separate events with citations? And that really needs to be a deeper discussion. Can we have that discussion right now? Is that part of today's agenda item?
You can certainly have that discussion. Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Okay.
I think one thing we need to know is, Heather, how restrictive can we be before we get sued? So if by saying, if, you know, say a party got 2 citations that were part of this ordinance, could we revoke the license just for that one event? Or would that be too restrictive and someone's going to come after us?
I think Rick makes a good point. What was the intent when this was drafted? I would argue that one event does not a pattern make, and ordinarily the intent of ordinances such as this is to shut down those properties that have a pattern of violations. So, but again, I wasn't here when this was drafted and changes were enacted, so that's for you guys to make that determination.
And or we could ask her to investigate, are there provisions where we could say that normally it's 2 different events. However, if you do X, Y, Z, we have the opportunity to revoke under one event. And that would then put them on notice that if you rent to somebody that does throw one of these teen takeovers, you may lose your license at that time.
I would also encourage council to consider, and I don't know to what degree police or other code enforcement officers are notifying the rental platforms of the violations, because they typically have requirements to be listed on their platforms, and where there are issues, they will typically pull those listings, and they've gotten much more responsive in recent years to those impacts on community. And so I would encourage you to look into that as well.
I would like to, Mayor and Council, know that we did contact that platform.
Part of the challenge for staff is council can't deliberate on whether or not it should even go on the agenda until you meet and deliberate that. And you can't do that unless you're at a posted meeting. And so the example I keep giving is high grass in January and then high grass again in May. That's 2 citations on a short-term rental. What do we do? Or let's get, you know, more, let's say loud noise in January and then loud noise 10 months later. That's 2. What do y'all want staff to do? Unless there's a standing administrative order for staff to do something, we're not going to know whether or not it rises to the level of you wanting us to notify the property owner that we're going to consider revoking the license. And so unless and until you give us that direction, some kind of a directive on what to do in those situations, it leaves staff in a spot where we're the ones deciding. We don't want to be in that spot, because that's a legislative decision, not an administrative decision. Does that make sense? So it puts us in a spot where we can track this stuff. You know, we can collect PD and code enforcement violations, and if they've got a car that was parked the wrong way in the street in January and high grass in March, we can track that. But as soon as we do, what do we do with that? And that's the information we need to hear from you guys, because we do have something in the ordinance, but it doesn't say shall. It says may revoke a license. You guys have discretion. And we don't want to raise any flags with property owners by sending them a letter saying that your short-term rental might get taken away from you if that's not something you guys want to consider.
Well, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with automatically going on the agenda. It's an ordinance that we set up. If you get 2 citations in a year, that we can or may take, revoke license. I don't think there's anything wrong with it automatically going on the agenda and them getting notified of it. Do I want to pull a license from somebody that has tall grass in January and somebody in November? No, I really don't. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with them getting a notification that, hey, that could possibly happen. And letting them know that we are serious about it. I think we talk about it. I don't think it's a sure thing that we do revoke, but I don't think personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it automatically. Like you said, if that is our policy to kind of go through and cite them, then why not go on and we discuss it? What we do from there is up to us, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it coming to our attention, personally.
The only thing I would submit from a staff perspective, and Chief, and I'm trying not to get political about this, but Chief mentioned it earlier, we have a lot of renters who've lived here for years who have a lot more violations and citations than that.
Also true. Non-renters, renters, yes. But how else would you, again, I think we have to come up with a way for you guys to notify us, right? It's like you said, we need to come up with something. So is there another option that would be better, or Rick, do you have something?
And maybe Heather can help whether this would be an appropriate way to do it. Staff could email out to council, we now have a short-term rental that has received these 2 violations. And then the individual council members could come back to the mayor and city secretary and would say, I would like that placed on an agenda. Not where we email out to everybody, but if then we want to discuss that specific property, and after knowing what the violations are, that way it doesn't automatically go on the agenda, but we have the option to, once we see how serious the offenses are.
Could we poll council in that way?
I want us to be very, very cautious to avoid walking quorums.
Well, and I'm not saying that we would, that's why I say we don't email each other. Each single one of us, we don't have to get a second from another council member. Any single council member could then say, I would like to see this address on an agenda. And it only goes back to the mayor and city secretary.
Yes, as long as council is very cognizant of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have one speaker that is the next door neighbor of this current property. Council, are you okay with Tim coming on up?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Don't go far.
All right, Tim Smith, 11622 Dorrance Lane. Yeah, I actually live next door to this, and if I may just kind of give a suggestion on the administrative protocol, is once you hit 2, you could just automatically create a report item that's brought for an agenda. You can do a 2-step process where council is notified, it's on there for discussion, and then council takes action, to direct staff to issue the revocation, and then that's brought up for an official action at a second meeting. Just FYI, if you wanted a more like by the numbers protocol. Anyway,
I think, would that be safer?
I think it would be fine, yes.
Just a quick clarification on that. So it would be something that went on an agenda for us to decide if we wanted to go on the next agenda. So this could be 30-plus days before any action could be taken, though.
If we follow that process.
yeah. But it would be a very programmatic process. Okay, just background. I've lived in here in Meadows for 20 years, bought this house 2 years ago, rehabbed it, moved our family in, need a little bit more room. As we were moving in, we found out the house next door had been sold twice. It was going to be an Airbnb, and I was like, oh, I'd heard all the horror stories. As we were moving in, I called Kurt, and he said, we can't legally prohibit it, court rulings, all these wonderful things, but there's noise violations, different things. Said, okay, all right, we'll be on the watch out. I have to say, I've been very pleasantly surprised. This is actually, and I know we hear all the horror stories, I just want to tell you what it looks like when it goes well. I think this last party was a one-off incident, but I've got to know the owner and his parents. I mean, they come down there, do work on the property. The owner's name is Brian. He's been very engaging with all the neighbors. Like, we all have his cell phone number. He's given everyone his cell phone number. We call him, we text him. He immediately replies. I think in the 2 years that I've lived there, we've had one incident that I thought it got a little loud, and we texted him, and in 15 minutes it was done. He jumped on it. He bought the house. It was it's got that mansard style roofs, and I think Kurt sold it to somebody that then sold it to him, and he put a ton of money in that house. He put easily $100,000 into that house. Metal roof, took those old mansards off, put on really nice veneer siding, redid the pool, did a lot of good work on that house, which I was like, I just put a bunch of money in the house I just rehabbed here. I kind of looked like, man, that very old style house is next door to it, and he revamped it and made it great. So I just want to talk about what it looks like when you have a good owner, when you have somebody that's doing this right, because I know we wish we could just say, poof, be gone, no more, but could you, I don't know, maybe talk with him and adopt some of his policies, find out what he engages from a policy standpoint, and maybe put that in your code. I'll give you an example. When we did have that one noise complaint, it was when we first moved in. He took care of it immediately, and then we didn't hear anything, and I just happened to talk about him, talked to him one day when he was there doing some work at the property. He said, yeah, Airbnb put out noise meters that you could buy. And so I bought them and installed them all in the yard and the house. And so he actually installed noise monitoring hardware at it that as soon as the decimal level gets to a certain level, it immediately texts him and the renters there to let them know you are beginning to approach it. And that goes off before it gets to the threshold that it should be a problem. So he's doing some things right that I don't know if these are the type of things you can put into ordinances of, if you're going to have a license, can you do these type of things. I think if, obviously what was happening a couple of weeks ago, what was a problem, but, if short-term rentals have these decimal meters, it's a pretty objective measure of how loud was the noise getting. If that's tied into the Airbnb system, if it's tied into the rental apps, you should be able to have some records for if you do want to take action, should be some pretty objective data. Anyway, to give character, on the event 2 weeks before that, there was another large gathering. It was probably maybe about 20 people or so. And we thought, oh, maybe somebody's doing a graduation party next door. And they actually had a security guard. Had a security guard at the back gate with the flashlight and checking IDs and making sure only the right people come in. Like, okay, well, if you're going to have a large crowd, at least you were taking care of it. Now, this was not Brian, the owner. This was whoever was throwing the event. Obviously, what happened last time got out of hand, but I think what I want to make care of is Brian has tried to do his best. He's put a lot of money, and he has kept up that house better than a lot of my neighbors. He has, in fact, I don't have any noise problems with the Airbnb next door. It's my neighbors that have a lot more fun on the weekends than that, and let them enjoy life. It's okay. I try to keep my grumpy old man in check. Let's see what else. The one thing I do want to say is, I don't know what type of protocols you can put in, but some people are doing it right. And what can we look at the way the technology is working with the Airbnb platforms, the different hardware? What could y'all maybe? What are some of the best policies in practice that it runs well when these procedures are in place, and maybe start adopting those in some of the ordinances or licensure? I don't know, but that's my 2 cents. Any questions if I have any experience?
No, I thank you for your perspective on that, and it does remind us that, there needs to be some kind of balance. You can't react to a single event and just get out of hand, because everybody says they want limited government until they don't. And then all of a sudden they want the government to take care of the problem.
Right.
And so we need to allow our residents both homeowners and renters to enjoy their property as long as they're enjoying their property in a way that's not impacting their neighbors.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tim. Come on up.
I'm Chris Garlick. I still live at 11419 Scottsdale. I think maybe we're kind of getting into the nuance here and trying to, through policy instead of being effective. With short-term rentals, we're faced with a different threat than we are with long-term rentals. With sexual predators and stuff like that, we have sexual registries and stuff like that. We have the potential for somebody like that to move into a long-term rental now, but if a matter of time, we would catch them. You could have somebody moving in or going into short-term rentals every day that's a registered offender, and we have no way to track that. Just on that premise alone, I think short-term rentals do not work well in residential areas that are catering to the safety of their children. So I'm going to go on that premise first and foremost. If we used to be known as a city that was offered deterrence to traffic violations, to speeding and things like that. And it wasn't that we needed to throw the book at everybody. We just needed to throw the book at one person and then that get around. And this guy, I love that he's keeping his house up good, but he's running a business. And our safety is at the mercy of that business. I think, honestly, zero tolerance is really the way we apply this. And then y'all don't need to do anything ever again. The word gets around to people that want to potentially buy a house to be a VBRO. They're going to be like, don't do that in Meadows. Problem solved. You solve it one time, solved forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. What it sounds like to me is that we have asked Heather to look at our current ordinance. Is that correct? Okay, I think we've also asked Heather to look at, like, to give us options as far as zoning. Like, what would restrictions in a single-family zone look like?
I would also like to know if there are limits we can put on them getting the license. Like, what requirements can we have before we give them the permit to have a short-term rental in the neighborhood?
Is there anything else for Heather that we think that we have that from our discussion? Okay, so staff needs to know exactly what is the next step. Does council want us to, once they hit 2 violations, high grass, let's just pretend it's high grass, send you are at risk of having your license revoked. Please join us at the next council meeting, automatic, which that is the process piece is the piece that we can have, that we need input from council on. Do you want it to be, like Tim suggested, it goes on the next agenda, council confers at the agenda, and then the next step is taken at the next council meeting? If there is a next step, what is staff's direction according to the current ordinance?
Well, and the third option was the one I put up, where staff emails council, and a single council member can ask for that to be put on an agenda for action. To Tia's point, if we go with okay, you put it on an agenda to discuss, and then you make a motion to put it on the next agenda to notify, now you're 30 to 45 days out before any action happens.
Correct.
Whereas if we do the email version, event happens, staff sees it's a second violation, email goes out, it's anywhere from 3 days to 27 days before the next council meeting. And so that way we could then get to an action faster by doing that. Or the fastest action is it's just automatically going on an agenda.
I have a question. When was the last time we got 2 citations in 12 months since we set this?
It looks like Solano Court has it.
Mm-hmm.
No, Solano had warnings, but they never got 2 citations. The only one that would rise to that level was 12110 Brook Meadows back in January, got 2 parking citations in that month. So I don't know if they were in the park driveway or in the street. Imagine they were in the street, but there were 2 parking citations related to a vehicle back in January.
So it doesn't sound like we would be having one every council meeting.
No, we wouldn't.
I don't see anything wrong with putting it on the agenda. All of the options I could go with too, but this one just seems like it's automatic. We can just make it happen.
My other question to you, because in the ordinance, it says specifically to revoke a license, a city will send written notice of the city's intent to revoke the license, not less than 30 business days prior to the date of revocation. So one of the things Nick and I have discussed is, once we hit those 2 citations, do we send a form letter saying your license is at risk of being revoked? Council will be meeting at the such and such day to discuss this. It's not saying your license is revoked. It's saying you are at risk per these 2 violations.
I'm good with that. The other question is, does it need to be a certified letter, or is, and how does
To prove
that?
it, yes. That's the way we do
But what's the timing on that, though? Does that play into this at all?
It will, and that goes to my question. If it's 30 days' notice, that means it can't happen on the next agenda. It's going to be a month out. Is there any way we could shorten that to 15 days' notice?
I don't see why not. You don't have a state statute that dictates the timeline, so.
I mean, you'd have to give somebody at least a week in order to make plans,
Agreed.
whatever, but
Have a representative.
But I would also recommend that, you get that return receipt
Oh,
before
yes.
taking action, and we know sometimes that's taking a little bit of time.
yes.
That's a good point, because oftentimes when we send certified letters, people tend to not want to sign
Agreed.
for them.
Correct.
It's problematic.
That has happened quite a bit. Okay, so what I'm hearing is it sounds like council is okay with an automatic letter being sent out. How do we change the ordinance right now? Do we change the ordinance in the next meeting?
We've got a lot of things on our list right now.
Correct.
I would rather we get it right
Okay,
than get it fast.
I agree. Careful work, not fast work. Okay. I think we're done with this item. I just want to make sure before I move on that everybody else is also done. Staff, do you have the direction that you need? Heather, do you have the direction that you need?
Yes.
Okay. Council, are we good? Okay. Thank you to everyone who came and spoke. Your participation in government is really important to us. All right, we are not voting on that agenda item. We have a consensus, so we're moving on to consent agenda. We're going to consider approval of the minutes held as follows: May 27, 2026 Code Enforcement Workshop, and May 27, 2026 City Council Special Meeting. I have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, with no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.